Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep kicking it.
Yeah.
Mayor, we're ready when you are.
Good evening. I'd like to call the May 8th, 2024 regular city council meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation?
All right, please face the flag and recite with me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking you for your guidance and wisdom as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in a meaningful discussion and allow us to grow closer as a community. It is in your precious name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you. City Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Lamb? Here. Councilmember Gutierrez?
Here?
Councilmember Gregory?
here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ross?
Here.
Mayor Carnavale?
Here. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda?
I have no changes, Mayor.
Thank you. City Clerk, would you please read the statement of our participation?
Public comment is the opportunity for members of the public to comment on items that are within the City Council's jurisdiction but not on the agenda. Because of restrictions contained in California law, the City Council may not discuss or act on any item not on the agenda but may briefly respond to statements made or ask a question for clarification. The Mayor may also request a brief response from staff to questions raised during public comment or request that a matter be agendized for a future meeting. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. If you are a member of the public and you wish to address the City Council, please complete a request to speak form available at the entrance and submit it to the City Clerk. You will be called upon at the appropriate time. If you have materials or other items to present to the members of the City Council, please do not approach them. All materials shall be presented to the City Clerk for distribution. And Mayor, we do have a couple of public comments.
Okay.
If I can please have Robert McCormick, please join the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I was here last month. This attendance and my future attendance will all be referencing last month's attendance. I request that my 3 minutes be allowed to be completed without any interruption. Thank you. 24 CFR 3617, 42 USCA 3617, retaliation for filing formal complaints. Not only have my constitutional rights, Civil Rights Act 1964, municipal code violations, now this body, Cathedral City Police, are in violation of federal law. The reason why my vehicle was impounded was because the Fair Housing Act, per the Constitution, me being a low-income tenant, had to be insured, scrutinized, and made very well aware that all rights, privileges, standards, regulations, and requirements were met before myself and my fiancée, Lucia Reyes, was evicted, and it was not by Riverside County Supervisor Emmanuel Perez or Riverside County Superior Court or Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianca. I am livid that I am homeless for the first time in my life at the age of 63, a decorated United States Marine Corps veteran, never been late on my rent in 16 years, never been late on my bills in 16 years, all retaliation because Show Levy didn't like that I complained because he was in violation of contractual obligation requirements to maintain his property. I demand that I be made whole, myself and my fiance. I want my vehicle back, detailed in and out, the broken window that was broken to take me out and 5150 me be repaired. All maximum punitive damages be awarded for all constitutional rights, civil rights, municipal code, and now federal law violations, and also in accordance, because of the Fair Housing Act not being complied with, all of those crimes being committed against us, maximum punitive damages be awarded. And I demand it to be done now. I am in a homeless shelter, and I should not be. My fiance was jailed last week because she's under a bridge, which there are many, many, many people under a bridge and never get arrested. She was taken to Banning, not even allowed to go to Indio. Lucia Reyes, taken to Banning, released at 11 o'clock at night, no charges, no bail, nothing. Just taken there for harassment, intimidation, strong-arming, and bullying. And I am fed up with this state, with this county, with this city doing this for 6 years.
Mr. McCormick?
I have been
Mr.
complaining.
McCormick, your time is allotted 3. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
The next speaker is Paula Whitaker.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Do I have this down low enough?
Perfect.
I'm short. I've been here before. I have a lot of problems with my neighbor. I live at 68-820 Olancha. The neighbor lives at 33-720 Via Dianza. I should not have problems with someone that lives on another street. Anyway, I've been here before about it's an illegal driveway that was allowed by Al Jimenez on a personal basis because these people are his friends. I know that because he told me. Because of this driveway, I have been lied to, threatened, and called names by members of the city. Yeah, I can give the names. Okay, the situation with this driveway has gotten out of hand with these people, and the police can't do anything because they say it's their driveway, they can do whatever they want. Sandra Molina says it's their driveway, they can do whatever they want. The problem is the driveway is 70 feet long. It runs along the side of my house. It's 9 feet from my driveway and from the house. It's supposed to be 16 feet, according to the building code. It's supposed to be 16 feet away from my driveway and no longer than 30 feet. Again, the driveway is 9 feet from my house and 70 feet long. Okay, these people have gotten out of hand with, I could go on a long time, vandalism. 5 years ago, they poisoned my 3 dogs, on and on and on. But right now, they have put up lighting, 15-foot high flood lighting, and security cameras on the driveway, not on their property or on the house, on this driveway. The security system rivals the system that Annenbergs have. I contend now that these people are dealing in drugs. Also, there is a noise in my house. It goes 24/7. It becomes loudest between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. I have had my house checked out by various repair people, engineers, roofing contractor, everything that I could think of. The noise is not coming from my house. It's just there. Okay, but right now I need this driveway removed because it's just gotten out of hand. All I'm told is we'll put up blackout drapes. There's something going on that's illegal at this house. Nobody puts up that much lighting and security on a driveway that's already has an 8-foot high block wall secured with a solid iron gate and a padlock that big. I've seen it. I need help from the city. I need this driveway away from my house so these people can no longer do what they're doing, and the city or the police do what they say. They can do whatever they want on their driveway. Again, I'm repeating, if the driveway were not alongside of my house, this wouldn't be happening.
Paula, thank you.
Can
Thank
you
you.
please help? Thank you.
We'll
I'm
pass that
sorry.
on. Thank you, Paula.
I'll be back. I
Okay.
need help here. Thank you.
Understood.
The next speaker is Scott Gutman.
Hello. I'm here for three things that I wanted to address the city about. I live in Verano, Rio Vista Village area, but they're not on tonight's agenda. So the first one, just real quickly, we have a traffic circle, one of the small ones, by Rio Vista Elementary School. I don't know how this happened when the place was developed, but there's a crosswalk going to the school on two corners and no crosswalks on the other, a yield sign on two streets, and a stop sign painted on the street. And I here because I know our community is about to turn over the streets to the city, and I'm hoping the city will take a look. It's not the most expensive thing to do. I'd like to have them consider making it a four-way stop sign identical to the one a block away where Verona and Avenida Quintana. This is Avenida Quintana and Rio Largo. It's just on the other side of the school. Kids are crossing from our community all morning long and coming home all afternoon, and drivers are just nuts there. So that's one thing. Another thing is I'd put in a complaint on a street light that hasn't worked in 2.5 years since it was installed on Rio Guadalupe. I got a little bit of a weird answer back from the Go app. They investigated it, a very quick response. They said it's the HOA, it's a decorative light, and it's the HOA. I know that's absolutely not the case. The HOA actually put in a complaint about another light that was damaged and could fall on the school. The city did take responsibility. There's a note up that it's going to take a while with Edison to get that thing working, but they're working on it. This light is no different. It doesn't conform to the other street lights in the city, but it is a city light. Very dark there. It's on the edge of the desert. It's in the area where they will expand out soon, where we'll be talking about tonight, but it's very unsafe for people walking, certainly children, women, men too, and coyotes come in there. It is pitch black. Our mailbox clusters are there. I hope someone can take a look at that again and work on that light. And then finally, something that will be addressed tonight, I know it was in the Planning Commission, a decision not to put a traffic light in at the entrance to Verano at Verona and Landau. It's already bad enough. Traffic Division has issued plenty of tickets there. There's a lot of people running the stop sign there. I'm hoping as the community develops and grows, the city will consider putting a traffic light in there. And many other people are concerned about 800 more homes or units, which could be 1,500 more cars if most have 2 cars. That's a lot of people heading to that intersection with no other real way out of there. So those are the 3 things that are concerning our neighbors in the community there.
Scott, thank you very much.
Thank
I saw
you.
staff taking some notes, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
The next speaker is Brad Anderson.
Hello, Brad.
Hi,
Hi.
Brad Anderson, City of Ransom Rose. That's currently where I live anyway. I'm not speaking on behalf of the City of Ransom Rose, just myself. I wanted to invite everybody that knows about this special district. It's the cemetery, Palm Springs Cemetery District. They're having a meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. The last meeting, I was finally allowed to come back after the COVID issue. They required masks forever, and they just dropped that, I guess. So I would just recommend that everybody go to that special district. It's a unique special district in the valley, meaning that nobody really knows about it or cares about it. But they do transfer a lot of funds around, and actually they're going to be talking about the stipends they receive tomorrow, and they get the highest paid stipends I know of in the desert, and they want to increase that again. So, and I'm going to talk about that later today and in this meeting too. And I guess that's all. I'm not going to waste too much of your time. I happened to tune in a little earlier, and I heard Data Ticket came up, and yes, Ransom Rose does use that company, I've had experience. I've actually sued the city through that. But if anybody knows of anybody that actually prevailed, I would love to know. I don't believe anybody can win with data ticket involved. And I know I'm just spreading rumors, but actually the county has a judge in Riverside County, and I believe he just got promoted down to Indio from the governor. Just appointed him to being a judge. He was a commissioner, and he oversaw all these litigation issues with data ticket and the cities. So maybe, just maybe, somebody has a chance of prevailing now, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Mayor, I do not have any other request to speak forms, but if you're a member of the public and you wish to comment on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. I see none, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go to council comments. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be back once again. Since we last met this past Sunday, I want to say I hope that everyone that is Greek, that celebrated Greek Easter, had a wonderful Easter Sunday. And last week, our city council attended what is called the Southern California Association of Governments. It was held here at the Palm Desert Marriott, Desert Springs, and it was a great event, well attended by 191 cities in Southern California. If Southern California Association of Governments was a country, it would have the 50th largest economy in the world. So it's a huge association, and we're happy that we participate and we're part of it. I also attended a meeting with our city manager and assistant city manager, and to discuss tonight's agenda and other issues pertaining to our city. Let's see, what else did I do here? Okay, coming up this Tuesday, we're having the State of the City address. It will be held Tuesday at noon. For those who wish to participate, buy a ticket, but you can also attend for free. Again, that will be held at the DoubleTree, our State of the City address. We have tons of information that will be provided to all residents and business owners throughout the Coachella Valley, that they can get a lot of information from our city. I also received several calls regarding code enforcement, and which I was able to handle myself and talk to these individuals throughout the city. I also received a phone call from a resident who was concerned regarding July 4th fireworks. She's very concerned regarding her pets, and I told her what her police department is planning on doing, and also what our fire department is planning on doing. And she was happy to hear that with the possibility of our city using drones to address some of the illegal fireworks is available, and we're contemplating that. Hopefully we can actually deploy them. So she was really happy to hear that. I drove around our city, and I'm always about beautifying our city. And every time I drive around, I happen to see illegal dumping. And for those of you that are residents of Cathedral City, we do have an app called My Cathedral City app, and you can just download that to your phone and report illegal dumping and many other issues pertaining to the city. I love to beautify the city, and whenever you get the opportunity to actually report anything that you see, for instance, it could be graffiti, broken down vehicles, shopping carts. There are many things that you can report to actually help the city become a much cleaner city. And coming up this Sunday is Mother's Day. I want to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day. Enjoy yourselves. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you so much. So over these last few weeks, I got the opportunity to travel back to the state in which I was born, Oregon, and where I met my husband and where we had our kids there. So I traveled up there. Bob was already up there, and we swept up the kids in Portland and brought them down to Astoria, where we spent 3 days together. When I got back to Portland, I went out with my best 3 friends. So, I mean, you know, really, it kind of turned my life for the month. But I will tell you why we were there. We went to and you should all plan for next year, the Astoria Crab, Seafood, and Wine Festival. I mean, if you can't find something there to love, you aren't my friend, I'm telling you. So this last month, I have joined a new commission, the Animal Campus. It's a group that oversees the shelter and the animal control person who's a full-time paid position. This is something that's important to me, and I was happy to go to my first meeting. I wasn't as happy that there were 70 people there ready to talk for 3 minutes on how terrible we all were. But you know what? If you start low, you can only go up. I guess that's the attitude I'm going to have with this, because we do have opportunity to be better, and we do have opportunity to grow. And so it's okay. It's all right that not everybody loves you the first time they meet you. If they did, we'd all get married after our first date. So anyway, I did miss, as a result of that, the SCAG convention first day. But really, they're so passionate about their subject, and it is sadly true. I mean, when a dog gets turned in, there's two choices. They get adopted or they get euthanized. And so we all have a role to play in this to make this a more palatable way for animals to be treated. And you ever want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to do that. There's lots of volunteer work that can be done too. So I got off on a tangent. I have to find out where I was now. So we all have prepped this last week for the State of the City, and I was fortunate to highlight our new businesses. And we are really a city moving in the right direction. Every year I think I say that, but every year I'm just amazed at how many new places I've checked out, and how many new restaurants we've gone to, and how many new people we've met that I think are really cool. So that was really fun, and I'm glad to be in Cathedral City, and I hope you are too. But it kind of gave me this opportunity, because tomorrow's the Harvey Milk Breakfast, to think about what I really think the number one thing in Cathedral City is, and that is, I believe, the opportunity to be who you want to be and to live in a diverse community. And if you don't want to be diverse, you don't have to be, and if you want to be, you can be. And that isn't, and we certainly know, anybody who watches international news, we know that that's not an opportunity for maybe 40% of the people in the world. 40%, can't be true to who they are, can't be with the partner they want to be, can't express themselves. And whether or not you want to express yourself is up to you. But the important thing is we have that ability to do that. So tomorrow morning is the Harvey Milk Breakfast, and I'm going to be smiling the whole time. Well, probably not while I'm chewing, but other than chewing, I'm going to be smiling the whole time. And I hope you all can appreciate the value of living in such a diverse community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Gregory.
And I'll be there too, Mayor Pro Tem. Every year. All right, well, welcome to May, everyone. This is our first meeting in May. Our last meeting was way back on April 24th. So just to report a few things that I attended. That Monday, April 29th, I did attend the Desert Business Association Awards. They were in Palm Springs. The Desert Business Association is a chamber of commerce that the city is a member of. It's the only LGBT-centered chamber of commerce that is here in Riverside County. And so a lot of our businesses here of all types are members. None of our businesses got awards last night, or on that night, on April 29th, but there were a number of businesses and individuals honored. I know one of the honorees was the Transgender Health and Wellness Center, which started grassroots here in Cathedral City. It eventually moved to Palm Springs, has offices in Riverside and San Diego, and there may be others. So it's done quite well. They actually did indicate that they're going to be opening something back in Cathedral City at some point. So it was good to see them. Then, as has already been mentioned, on Thursday and Friday, May 2nd and 3rd, I, along with my colleagues at various different points, attended the Southern California Association of Governments Regional Conference and General Assembly, so it was good to be able to be seen with them, see our other local cities and cities from throughout Southern California, and able to attend some seminars and get to see what's happening and what other local governments are doing to help solve some of the very same problems we have. And then on Monday, May 6th, I attended this Coachella Valley Association of Governments Transportation Committee meeting. A number of items on the agenda there, which will eventually trickle up to the executive committee. So you may see some of these, but I know there was a request for authorization for CVAG to update the regional pavement management program. And this is a program that they had written up a number of years ago, but is part of the Transportation Commission's perhaps wanting to place an item on a funding item on the upcoming ballot, and some of that money would come back here to the Coachella Valley. And the proposal is that those would go towards a regional project. The money coming here would go towards regional projects, but also would contain some rehabilitation for some of our arterial roads. And I think I mentioned this before, but we have roads in our city that obviously, Ramon Road, Dinah Shore, even Date Palm, that are arterial roads that are used by people that are not necessarily just doing business in our city, but that are passing through to go to other cities. So the proposal is that there be a program where when a road's paved, it's paved all the way or rehabilitated all the way through all the jurisdictions that it touches, and with some consideration then as to some compensation that would come off the tax, and probably some compensation that would come from the cities and county where the studies show the people that use the road go. So that's a little bit of a new concept. It's still way off and won't probably move forward if the tax measure doesn't move forward, but it is beginning to be discussed. I think that's very important for Cathedral City because we are in some ways a pass-through city for some of our neighbors, and yet we're expected to maintain the roadways without necessarily getting a fair share of the funds that are generated. So it's something that's off on the horizon, but that we're certainly actively involved in. And then there was, again, some further authorization to continue to move forward with the CV Sync Phase 2, which is already underway, but there was some construction management that needed to be added, so that'll be coming forward. CV Sync Phase 2 is the next part of the signal synchronization. It includes Date Palm, Vista Chino, and Dinah Shore here in Cathedral City. Ramon and Highway 111 are already finished, so hopefully you're hitting more green lights than you used to on those streets. That's the idea, that you hit more green lights, and so less cars have to idle. And then earlier today, the Riverside County Transportation Committee did meet in Palm Desert. Brad Anderson was there and spoke. Anyways, a number of items. Of course, this time of year, the budget is always a big item. They opened the public hearing on the budget today, and also talked about the possible ballot measure that I alluded to before. And then there was a lengthy discussion about satellite meeting locations. There are, as you know, it can be quite a trip to Riverside, so there's a number of local jurisdictions that continue to question why we're traveling to Riverside for all of our meetings, and whether it would be better to have satellite locations that not just commissioners can use, but also members of the public can use that want to go and speak and address the commission. So there's, of course, good parts and many bad parts about that type of a decision. So it's going to come back again for a further presentation, but there was some lengthy discussion on that today. And then it was also, I wanted to bring up that there was mentioned in our legislative update about the state budget that there had been a fund freeze that went on with the REAP program, and there's a number of projects in the REAP program, and of course one of them that's near and dear to our heart that was a Cathedral City-led program from the beginning many, many years ago is Coachella Valley Rail, which is they're just about ready to award the contract for the next phase of studies, but $40 million of that was supposed to pay for that is in the REAP program. So now there's a pause, which there's a lot of worry that, of course, that a project that's already 10 or 15 years old, it's got 10 or 15 years to go, that if we keep pausing it, you could just keep adding the years onto that. But also a concern that as you pause, the costs go up and some of the momentum that you have gets lost. So that, of course, is on the attention of all of these groups, and they're sharing that with the members of the legislature that may be able to help. But it will affect all of us. There are a number of other funds that are in the REAP program, including some Lift to Rise housing funds that were mentioned in email. They're also in peril. There's even some CV Link connectors in there, so I'm not sure if our connector was REAP funded, but if so, that funding may be frozen right now too, so that may be something that we'll actually have come back to us in the dais if that continues, or if those funds aren't just frozen, but if they're potentially eliminated. So it's just something to watch. I don't think any of us locally have a lot of control over the billions of dollars that the state is in their budget shortfall, but we continue to need to make sure we advocate for what's important for our region and for Cathedral City. To those that may have the ears of the governor or of our state legislators. All right, has already been mentioned, this Sunday is Mother's Day, so I won't belabor on it. I will just say Happy Mother's Day to all of you out there, mothers, and please, if your mother is still with you, then she is a blessing, and please honor her on that day. And as has already been mentioned, but I will again invite everyone to join us for the State of the City. It's an annual event put on by the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. It is this coming Tuesday at the DoubleTree. It starts at 11 o'clock. And I know Ryan Hunt has been working on a nice video presentation, and our mayor will be doing a great job handling the MC duties, no doubt. And so I look forward to that event and spending a little more time. And I always, although we're here and we're in meetings and we get a lot of updates, I always learn a little something that's going on that I didn't know. And sometimes there are special surprise announcements, so there may be some at that. So if you can attend, please plan on attending that State of the City next Tuesday at the DoubleTree. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Lamb, please.
Great, thank you so much. And I too attended the SCAG conference, and I wanted to highlight the keynote speaker. She was, her name was Sarita Mabin, and her topic was on communication. And, you know, all learning is dependent on communication. And I too had the opportunity to do my video portion for the State of the City presentation for next week. And I was just even more inspired, and thank you to our public safety, fire and police for what they've done over this past year in training and educating and empowering our residents. It's just been amazing. And we, you know, between the emergency preparedness workshops that we've had throughout the city and CERT, community emergency response training, and fall prevention training, and all the things that we're doing. And then tonight during our study session, we just had a presentation by Justin, where our code compliance manager was talking about, you know, the things we can do to educate our residents and business owners, you know, how can they improve their properties and make sure they align their actions with the code and improve our city overall. So I too am just truly inspired. And then, you know, communications, I still get the hard copy of the Desert Sun. I'm one of the few on the street, you know, that does. But we had some wonderful articles highlighting the successes and the accomplishments of our students at Cathedral City High School, and I just wanted to read two of their names. One, it was this year's recipients of the Greater Coachella Valley Student of the Year, and they were recognized at a reception at the Classic Club in Palm Desert. And the girls, she is from Nigeria, attends Cathedral City High School, and I failed to contact her teacher to get the exact pronunciation. Her first name is Lota, and I believe it's Yuna Wane, and she's from Nigeria. But here is her quote. She goes, "Everything happens as it's meant to. I feel as though my life is a stream of isolated events that somehow come together to create meaning." She's an aspiring obstetrician gynecologist and plans to study psychology at UCLA. So, just does my heart good. And there was this wonderful article, Cathedral City High School invites community to its annual basketball unified sports showdown. And this event already passed, but it was students with special needs working with a group of international baccalaureate students. And next council meeting, which is May 22nd, if you're interested and in town, Ed Perry, who's the director of the International Baccalaureate Program at Cathedral City High School, is going to be presenting a brief overview of that program. But they have partnered together to help these developmentally in need students, and that was just such a great program. I wanted to recognize the Cathedral City Senior Center. Volunteerism is such a tremendous fabric in Cathedral City, and nowhere does it thrive more than the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City and the Senior Center. And they put in a weekly ad saying they need volunteers. So we talk about building a sense of community, and they have built a community, and my hat's off to them. And I want to end with, there's this wonderful article, Desart Performs is a live theater group, and they've been operating out of the Palm Springs Women's Club for years, and they are very interested in coming to Cathedral City. And there was this whole big article. They found the spot. They've launched their fundraising campaign, and they want to come to us. And here's the paragraph that CV Independent wrote about us. It says, Cathedral City is turning into an arts hub. The Desart Playhouse space is just down the street from the CV Rep Playhouse, and the downtown area hosts a variety of festivals and events on a regular basis. So that's their dream. So with that, I will conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items?
Item 3A is to waive full reading of ordinances on the agenda. Item 3B is to approve the April 24th, 2024 study session and regular city council minutes. Item 3C is to adopt a resolution of the Cathedral City Community Facilities District, number 2000-1, Rio Vista Village, establishing the annual special tax for fiscal year 2024-2025. Item 3D is to approve the 8th Amendment to the city manager contract. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Are there any members of the public wish to comment on any of these items on consent agenda?
Mayor, I did receive one request to speak for item 3D. Mr. Brad Anderson?
Hi again, Brad Anderson. Currently live in the city of Rancho Mirage. I just noticed this was a consent item, and this is concerning item 3D, I'm sorry, and amendment to the city manager's contract. Apparently this is a lifelong contract. I don't know. It's from 2014. I've never seen this before. This is unusual for me. But you've been doing this year after year, so it's just new to me. It's how you perform your contracts through the city with the city manager anyway. I'm not negative. When I first met the city manager in the public works years ago, manager I guess, I was impressed by the performance, and I think I actually contacted my city thinking that maybe they could steal them for the city of Rancho Mirage. And so I have no bias. No, I guess I do have a bias, but I have no negative or positive points to make concerning this financial agreement to increase the wages, but I find it odd. It's very transparent. It's good. I like that. People of the city should know about this. And it may be on the low bar, but I think a little birdie told me that possibly retirement may be happening soon. Again, that's just hearsay. And I've seen this happen before. City Indian Wells, it was very well known for doing this, where they increase their wages at the very end and they leave. So hopefully that's not the case. I'm sure it's well deserved. And again, that's the way it's performed. It's transparent. I have no issues with that. So I guess my understanding is it's a valued service and based on comparable salaries from other cities. So, and I know City of Rancho Mirage just increased all city manager I made it cheap. $340,000 plus $20,000 deferred compensation, which is a massive amount of money. So, and I know I'm going to Desert Hot Springs years ago. You remember that W-2s running all over the place with their management or administrative department. I'm not saying it's anything like that or the City of Bell. And I just remember all this because I happened to be at City Bell at the time, not with the city, but in the city. And so it just rings a bell when people are grossly overpaid. I don't believe that's the case with this, but I'm glad that you're letting people know. And that's all I have. Thank you. I got to go. I have a sick dog at the house. So
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Are there any comments from the council? No comments? Okay. Then do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second?
I move approval.
All second?
It says waiting.
Councilmember Gregory, would you please select mover?
See, you pushed mover. You messed it up.
Folks, we're using a new system up here.
No worries.
You're supposed
I will
to
correct it.
wait.
We have a motion by Councilmember Gregory and a second by Mayor Carnevale. Please vote.
I did just now. Don't worry.
And motion carries all ayes.
Thank you very much. Public hearings, approve the CDBGY FY 2024-25 action plan. Mr. City Manager, do we have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. You heard this in study session a few weeks ago. We've now posted it in accordance with HUD regulations, and this is the final step of the process, which is to approve the annual action plan. Andrew Lee from our engineering department is here to give you the staff report. Andrew.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. Tonight, I'll be presenting the city's Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, fiscal year 2024-25 annual action plan for City Council approval. So to start off with some recap, the annual action plan, or the AAP, is the one-year plan that allocates CDBG funds consistent with the 5-year consolidated plan objectives. The action plan typically includes allocations for program administration, which is capped at 20%, public services, capped at 15%, and public improvements or infrastructure projects that have no cap. Cathedral City's CDBG allocation for this fiscal year was in the amount of $569,557. The allocation for next fiscal year, 24-25, has not been released by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. It's anticipated that this allocation could take as long as October of this year. So the proposed fiscal year 24-25 action plan includes allocations for program administration and public infrastructure. Public services are proposed to be funded from the general fund. So the two public improvements projects includes the Whitewater Neighborhood Street Reconstruction Project in the amount of $451,000, and a map of the project location will be shown on the next slide. And the second project is the Sidewalk Repair Assistance Program in the amount of $5,000. This is a $5,000 reduction from this year's program due to lack of received applications. Excuse me. So here's the map showing the Whitewater Neighborhood Reconstruction Project. You can see there will be 6 streets proposed to be reconstructed. The average pavement condition index, or PCI, is 43, which categorizes these streets as in the poor category. Okay. Shown on this slide is the proposed fiscal year 24-25 action plan, and just wanted to make a note that the table in the staff report is missing the breakdown of the administrative allocation. So it's shown on this slide. It includes planning and administration in the amount of $94,000 and fair housing mediation in the amount of $20,000. and the fair housing mediation presentation will be presented later tonight. So following the action plan introduction on March 27th, a notice of availability for comments on the proposed action plan was published in the Desert Sun and also posted at the Cathedral City Senior Center, Boys and Girls Club, and the library. The 30-day commenting period ended on April 30th, and no comments were received. So to review the timeline, today we have the public hearing for City Council approval of the annual action plan, and if the annual action plan is approved tonight, then city staff will start the submittal of the action plan to HUD. With this, there's no fiscal impact for the annual action plan approval. The costs incurred for the action plan will begin on July 1st of this year. And just to note, please note, if any funds remain from this fiscal year 23-24 action plan, those funds are proposed to be amended and reprogrammed into the 24-25 annual action plan. This agenda item aligns with the 5-year strategic plan through Goal B, community investment. With that, city staff is requesting that the City Council hold a public hearing, approve the fiscal year 24-25 annual action plan for submittal to HUD, and authorize the city manager to execute the required certifications and all funding agreements and documents consistent with the fiscal year 24-25 annual action plan. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very, very, very much. Councilmember Gregory.
So Andrew did cover it, but yes, just as was at the study session, the chart that's going out to the public and still showing as the staff report on the system, I don't know if somebody was going to fix it, does not include the allocations for the fair housing or the admin. It has the total funding, but it's blank. So I thought we were going to fix that after the study session, but apparently it got overlooked. So I don't know if there's a way, hopefully this won't come back to us again unless it comes with an amendment. But if it comes with an amendment, can we please fill in the chart so that when the public is looking at the agenda and the council's looking at the agenda, they see the actual numbers that are there without having to read. The numbers do appear to be correct in the actual report, but they're not in the summary, so.
Yes, I'll make that note too.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're very welcome. I don't see any other council members. Okay? No? That's all right.
Hey, thanks. How you doing?
Doing well?
Good.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you remember, but I remember last year, right after you gave this presentation, I asked if you could give me the addresses of any of the sidewalk repairs in my district. Would you do that again for me, please?
Yes.
And last year, I don't know if you remember this, but I went out to the 3 places and they'd all fixed their driveways or their walkways. So maybe we'll have that kind of good news again. But I'd love to make sure that they knew about this if not.
Yes.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
Mayor, I did not receive any request to speak forms on this item. If you're a member of the public and you wish to comment on this item, please raise your hand.
Okay.
And I see none, Mayor.
Thank you. Council members, any last word? At this,
You're dying.
at this time, I will close public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve staff's recommendation and a second?
Do we have a mover? Do we have a second? Okay. Councilmember Gutierrez, would you select mover? Councilmember Lamb, thank you. Please vote. Mayor, do you see the option on your screen? There it is. There we go. Councilmember Lamb? Motion carries, all ayes.
Thank you very much. Rio Vista Village, Verano Specific Plan Amendment 9755D, tentative track map, number 38709, 38710, 38711, 38712, and 3873. Mr. City Manager, do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is an item that is coming to you from the Planning Commission. It was heard by them last week, and it is a proposed amendment to the specific plan, Rio Vista Village, Verano, which I think was originally adopted in 1998. It does not change the total number of units, which is important, especially when you consider impacts of traffic and things like that. All that is remains unchanged from the original plan. Sandra Molina, our Deputy Director of Development Services, will present this item for you.
Good evening. As indicated by the City Manager, my name is Sandra Molina, and I'll be presenting this item. So this is a public hearing, and I realized that the packet that the City Council got was quite large, had a lot of parts to it, and so through this presentation and any input from staff and the applicants' representatives, hopefully we can package it together to streamline the discussion. So this item, as indicated, is a public hearing. The Planning Commission did hold a discussion item on the specific plan amendment, and they held a public hearing on May 1st to discuss the proposed amendment to the specific plan, the 5 tentative track maps for the single-family subdivisions, a density transfer as permitted through the specific plan, and then also it was noticed it's on this evening's agenda, tentative track map 38902 for a condominium map. That is on the agenda, but it's not included for recommendation, as the Planning Commission did continue it on at their May 1st Planning Commission hearing. So the specific plan in the report itemizes a number of amendments that are proposed. For the purposes of this meeting, we'll only go over a few of them. At any time, if the council has any specific questions to any item in the report or would like me to expand upon that, I'm happy to do that. Of relevance, the specific plan amendment does establish single-family and multifamily development standards. That's contained in section 5.9 of the specific plan document. It also makes a number of changes that have to do with modernizing and bringing the specific plan up to some current standards. Those are not substantive changes, and so are not proposed to be discussed. There's also updates to the landscape master plan and open space plan, the circulation plan, and also some modifies the design and programming of the recreation center. I'll go through that some more as we go through the presentation. So the specific plan was adopted back in 1998, and it covers 303 gross acres, and it allows up to 1,362 dwelling units. It includes parks, commercial area, and a school. The project, as you can see in this aerial, is partially developed. There's about 470 units already constructed. On the bottom right-hand corner, there's 58 units that are approved and are in the process of going through plan check. But the remainder of the site is vacant. The purpose of the specific plan amendment is to facilitate the build-out of the specific plan as contemplated back in 1998. The proposed changes that the developer is proposing, or the applicant is proposing, is intended also to position the project to facilitate the ultimate development of the area. The specific plan boundaries are shown in red. The light blue area is the area that's subject to the proposed 2024 amendment to the specific plan, and also the tentative track maps that are being considered this evening. The specific plan does contain the development standards for development of the single-family component and also the multifamily component. It establishes setbacks, height, wall requirements, lot coverage, private open space. It also contains the parking requirements for multifamily development and single-family development. It's very consistent with what a specific plan does contain, which are development standards and what the build-out of the area would be like.
So while you're on that parking, 1.5 per unit, one of them is covered. Can you describe in simple layman terms what that actually means? You have a half uncovered space at each unit, or how does that?
Yes, I will. So for the single-family lots of record, the parking requirement is 2 parking spaces per unit. Only 1 is required to be covered. However, market conditions would dictate, and typically you do see 2-car garages, but based upon the amendment that's proposed, at least 1 would need to be covered.
So if one's covered, one's not covered, what does that mean? It's like next to the garage? It's like the space in front of the garage?
It could be either.
Oh.
It could be either. The multifamily project, or the standard for the multifamily would require 1.5 parking spaces per unit, and that's a pretty common parking standard for multifamily type projects. And in addition, guest parking would be required.
So if you have 2 units, then there's 3 spaces because it's 1.5 per unit. And we're not talking about spaces on the street. We're talking about actual spaces that are paved on the property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Based upon Planning Commission input at a April 23rd discussion, the applicant did revise the specific plan to include a plant palette appendix, a plant that would be more conducive to our area. They also changed the street tree sizes to 24-inch box trees from 15 gallons, and they also raised the height limits of block walls or walls to 6 feet instead of 5. The specific plan also proposes to amend the lot sizes of certain areas. So the area you see in yellow is the residential single-family component. In the middle, you have a little bit darker yellow. And so this area in this original specific plan was intended for lot sizes of 8,000 square feet. However, within the developed portions of the specific plan, the prevailing development and lot pattern is less than 8,000 square feet. So the applicant is proposing lot sizes between 5,000 and 6,000 feet. It's consistent with what you're seeing out there now. And even though the lot sizes are reduced from 8,000 square feet, per the adopted specific plan, the maximum number of units stays at 1,362. That will not be exceeded. The specific plan also allows for the number of units within a planning area to be transferred amongst the sub-planning areas. That is being proposed for 2 planning areas. One is proposing to move around 9 units, the other one's proposing to move around 11 units. Again, it's permitted by the specific plan, and it does not increase the maximum unit count that's allowed per the adopted specific plan. So a few of the maps that are being proposed to be changed. The circulation plan is proposed to be amended in a few areas. One is along the Landell Boulevard and Rio Vista Drive. The original specific plan identified a traffic signal. However, a traffic signal warrant study was done as part of the CEQA analysis for the project, which determined that the build-out of the specific plan does not warrant the traffic signal, and therefore it's being removed from the circulation plan.
So just to be clear, that didn't look at just current traffic. That looked at what we would expect for potential traffic at build-out, and that study showed that a traffic signal isn't warranted there.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The project in the circulation plan is also proposing a north-south connection on the westerly portion of the specific plan. What it does is takes Ventura Drive from the south and continues it into the specific plan area. Within the specific plan area, it is renamed from Ventura. The specific plan also proposes to omit the requirement for service alley streets or lots. I'm sure the council's been out to the area and they see that all these homes that are being constructed or that have been constructed are accessed through a service alley. The specific plan amendment would make that an optional requirement. The subdivisions are being designed so that they do take access along the street except for a small portion on one of the tracks that finishes out over on Rio Rosalia, which already been service lane accessed.
Is that throughout, or is that only on the outer rim of that they're not going to be required to have the alley?
That's on the undeveloped portion of the property.
But
of the
throughout
site.
that portion,
Throughout.
it's allowed? All right, so presumably then, since you do have a garaging requirement, that garage, instead of being in the back, is going to be in the front. There's going to be no alley. Is that what the thought is?
Yes,
I mean, I don't know if you have actual designs of what the units would look like. I don't know if we're to that point yet, but is that the thought then?
Yeah, so with the homes being accessed through the street, the setback is greater, but it would allow for a driveway and cars to be parked on the driveway.
Okay, in the front.
In the front.
And their trash cans might be in the front too, so just be aware that's an issue.
That is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So the open space plan and landscape plan are proposed to be amended as well. The areas that are identified as D are areas that are either existing parks or proposed parks. These parks will be dedicated to the city. They will be improved and maintained by the developer or HOA, more likely the HOA. There's a few pockets of areas identified as G. Those are landscape open space areas. They're not large enough to be a functional park, but they just are open space areas. These will be privately owned, privately maintained, improved by the subdivider, and maintained by the HOA.
So the parks part is one of the most confusing parts, trying to go through the summary, to me at least. But I did see, it looks like some of these parks were moved over so that they're now kind of clumped together with either with each other or with where there was existing park.
Right, so on the southern portion, down towards the bottom, there's, at the intersection of what looks like Rio Guadalupe and Rio Largo, there's already dedicated land to the city for park. The track that's adjacent to that's proposed, was also proposing to include a park area, and staff had requested of the applicant to consider moving that park area to the existing to make it a larger, more functional park, and they have done that.
And so how big, with them all kind of lumped together, say that one that you're talking about to the south, how big is that park going to be?
I don't have that area in front of me. I can find it in the specific
Are we
plan.
talking about acres of park, or is they're more like pocket kind of parks?
They're pocket parks. They're pocket parks.
So, all right, and so the plan calls for them to be dedicated to the city, so they'll be on the city's count of acreage for parks, even though they're small. And they'll be publicly available to be used, but they'll be maintained by the HOA. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
Okay. And it also requires there be amenities. Do we have any idea what kind of amenities we'd be talking about? And that might give me an idea about what size of parks we're talking about.
We don't have,
I mean, are we talking about a bench? Are we talking about a jungle gym? Or are we talking about a basketball court?
due to the size of them, you're probably talking about benches, shade areas.
Okay.
And we won't really have those improvements until they come in with construction plans.
Okay, but we're not talking about something that's as big as like Ocotillo Park or Century Park or
Correct.
anything like that.
Correct.
Nothing that's big enough to have ball fields or anything. We're talking about basically a couple of little pocket parks lumped together to make a big back pocket park.
These are not active recreation parks, correct?
All right, thank you. And are you going to cover it, or there was some language in here about a community? This is where it gets a little confusing, because there's community parks and like a community swimming pool and those kind of things. And of course, that would be maintained by the HOA. So I don't know if you're getting to that part, or, okay, if you are, then we can wait. But while we were at parks, I thought I'd ask.
So I pulled up the aerial to kind of help with that. So over on the, off of Rio Vista Drive, there's an area that's partially developed with the community center and some pools. Another portion to that was identified as a city park, and the From what we were able to research, it was more functioning as a community park, and so the wording's been changed to remove the city park confusion to it, and it's going to be a community park that's available to the community.
So that portion, mainly in that big circle in the middle, is not going to be part of the city park system. The community pool is for the residents only, correct? And
Correct.
will be fenced and gated, I would assume, like other community amenities are. I believe it's already fenced and gated now, but it's like you said, it's not all built out. So.
Correct. It is fenced.
So can you go back to that picture again? So the whole time you were talking, I thought you were talking about the little park that would be, if that's I-10, that would be to the east off of Rio Vista, that kind of quarter circle. Do you see it? It's got a flat line and then a bit of an arch just attached to Rio Arbolitos?
So there are, I'm not sure if you can see my
I
cursor.
think I see a pool there.
So, yes, over on this end
Yes.
off of Rio Vista, it's the existing community recreation building and some pools. That's the area that we were just discussing that Council Member Gregory was asking for more information about.
So somehow then we got to the middle, so I got those two confused.
Yeah, I think the comment from Councilmember Gregory was that this was existing and fenced.
Okay, so we're really just talking about the one over off of Rio Vista. Great. Well, that's Rio Vista too. There's too many Rio Vistas. There's too many Rios,
too many
everything.
Rios.
All right, thank you.
But we are also talking about that circular area would remain fenced and would be used only for the community. Is that proposed to be part? Because I know when you show like the green before, it includes that circle and the other map. So it's like, is that going to be, it says dedicated to the city and HOA maintained. Of course, so does the portion down here technically falls into that. So that's where I get a little confused. It's like, well, what is proposed to be added as city parks and open to the public, and what is proposed to be the community only?
So these fenced areas are community parks, and they're fenced, and so they're mainly available to the community members. The other parks are open. For instance, the pocket parks are open. They're not fenced. The community can use them. They're not gated. Conceivably, anybody from the public could use them.
Right. Including the circle in the middle or not?
Well, the circle in the middle is fenced. It's gated,
right.
so.
All right, well, you see where I get confused,
Yes.
because this says open space plan, and it includes there, and it technically includes down
Right.
where the pools are. So is that just the way the map was drawn, or is?
There's an open space plan and a landscape plan, and so I use just the one. And so the other plan may have some more distinction to it.
All right, well, again, I'm just confused because it says dedicated to city HOA maintained, and it's green, the dark green, and it's including some of the sections that you're indicating are going to be, are going to be fenced and only available to the residents, which I'm not saying that that's wrong, especially the pool area. You know, many developments have their own pool areas that are fenced and available only to the people.
So for the purpose of the proposed maps, it's the area that's east of Rio Guadalupe that's going to have some proposed parks. This area over where the community center is at with the pools, there's a portion that's phase 2 that still is to be developed. And so it's a matter of redesignation and what it's called under the specific plan that's changing.
But those areas aren't going to be dedicated to the city.
These pocket parks over here are.
No, the parts with the pools and the big circle in the middle.
I will check that for you.
Okay, because then that becomes a problem. Even if it's maintained by the HOA, but it becomes dedicated to the city as part of the city's park system, but it's gated and the public can't use it. Do you see where that's an issue?
I understand what you're saying. It might be helpful that the city does have a ordinance that talks about payment of park fees, Quimby fees, that makes allowances for parks that are dedicated. It makes allowances for in lieu fees or a combination thereof. And so as these maps are going through the final map process, that whole assessment will be done to determine the the fees that would potentially be due. And I think that will address, that perhaps may partially address the comment between public and not public and access by the public.
Okay. But we won't see that process and approve it, so we won't know what's worked out. So it's possible staff may approve to say, okay, yes, you dedicated this property, so in lieu of Quimby fees, but it's not really open to the public. It's only open to your public, the people that are part of the HOA.
Yeah. I understand your concern.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, with regard to the tentative track maps, for reference purposes, over on the right side, tentative track map 38902 is shown. It's not under consideration this evening. The track maps 38709 through 38713 are under consideration this evening. The staff report does go into a discussion about each tentative track map and the number of lots that are being proposed, open space or park areas. For the purpose of consolidating the presentation, I will say that each tentative track map is being served by public streets. Those public streets will be required to be improved as part of the final map and construction so that there's access to all the lots that will be constructed. Where there are parks to be dedicated, they will be, as indicated previously, dedicated to the city, improved and maintained by the HOA or developer. There are, where the proposed parks are adjacent to land that's already been dedicated, there are conditions of approval with each respective track map where it's adjacent to also improve those parks. The lots have been reviewed and they do meet the minimum lot size requirements that are required under the specific plan, and so they are consistent with the specific plan and our general plan and zoning code. So with regard to the environmental review, that's the bulk of the report that the council did receive for this evening's meeting. The specific plan was adopted again back in 1998, and a mitigated negative declaration was prepared for it. Our general plan EIR was certified in 2021. The applicant prepared a CEQA consistency analysis pursuant to CEQA, which determined that the project is consistent with the mitigated negative declaration that was adopted and with our city's adopted general plan EIR. Based on that, it was determined that no further environmental review is required. It did identify mitigation measures applicable to the project, and they are included in the conditions of approval for each tentative track map. Notice was mailed to the public in accordance with our city and state requirements. The notice was sent one time, noticing both the May 1st Planning Commission hearing and May 8th City Council hearing. We did receive correspondence from one resident on Verona that was provided to the City Council. It was also provided to the Planning Commission. If during the public portion comment, the council may request that the city clerk read that into the record. Now, before going into the recommendation, I did want to discuss a memo that was transmitted to the City Council requesting some changes to the ordinance that's under consideration this evening. And so this memo transmits a revision to the ordinance under consideration. Particularly what it's asking is that a condition be placed on the proposed ordinance regarding the specific plan that would require the applicant to, within 30 days, submit to us a clean copy of the specific plan, but also incorporate the mitigation measures as they are contained in the CEQA consistency analysis so that they are consistent. There were different iterations of the specific plan and the CEQA analysis. We believe we caught it all, but we just want to make sure that it is consistent and that we're able to button that up. We would also propose that the CEQA consistency analysis is made part of the specific plan as an appendix. The memo also identified a clarification to a wall standard that was transposed between the single-family and multifamily standards, and so that's a minor cleanup that would just clarify what was intended there. And so that the ordinance was attached to the memo that's shown in red line and strikeout, so the council can follow the request that's being made. Now, with respect to the recommendation to the city council, there is a little bit of a change to what's in the agenda report. So we are recommending that the city council find that there's no further environmental review required under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to sections 15162 and 15183. Based on the findings that are in the report, we request that the council adopt the ordinance as amended, approving the specific plan amendment and the density transfer, and approve tentative track maps 38709 through 38713. The change is that in the agenda, recommendation number 3 included the density transfer, and that should be in recommendation number 2, as is shown in the slide. I would also advise the city council that there was a large team, a whole team working on this project. City staff, our development services departments, our public works and engineering director. We also had consultants assisting. The applicant had a number of consultants as well to help us package this project to the city council. They are present this evening if the council had any specific questions for those representatives as well. They may have a short presentation. And with that, I'm available to respond to comments. Our staff is here to respond to comments.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Gregory.
All right. So again, thank you for the presentation. This is very, very lengthy. These are the kind of things that I say, oh, thank goodness we have a planning commission, because they can get much more in detail on these kind of things and have more knowledge in many situations on some of this. My understanding, though, is there were some either changes or there's some portions of this that refer to blow sand. And I didn't hear in your presentation any talk about blow sand or proposals or things that are being put upon the developers and or eventually the HOA dealing with blow sand. So could you kind of cover what the plan calls for in reference to blow sand?
Yes, so there's off-site blow sand conditions and on-site. And I was going to ask that our public works director speak to that.
Okay.
Right off the bat, Councilmember Gregory, on the Circle Park and the amenities on the clubhouse, this is regressing. As I recall, and going through my memory bank, I have seen the title to those, and it's not in the city's name, and that's why they can be privately exclusive for the residents there.
Okay, so this doesn't change that, though, because as I said, the drawing may just be incorrect, but I'm not hearing anyone
those already kind of exist.
Oh.
Correct.
Yes, but the drawing says that these are the areas that are to be deeded to the city, and it includes the circle and the area with the pools.
The Circle Park's not even part of the application on this, and the specific plan is not changing that.
Okay.
So
it doesn't seem like it would.
It's referencing that, but it's already been deeded.
So just because it says that on that little on the slide that we saw over here doesn't mean that there's anything in here that's requiring that the deed to those properties change.
Correct, because Sandra's reference was to all the new tracks 13 through 9 that are being presented to you today, and the
And I can understand the map showing these are all the open space, but unfortunately on the key it says being deeded to the city. So, all right, that was that confusion. Thank you.
And then regarding the blow sand, they did do an extensive blow sand study in the environmental document. They are going to continue a lot of off-site blow sand mitigation. In fact, I was on a phone call today with their team with CVWD because they also own on that track map on the on the west boundary, they have a 20-foot long all the way up to the north portion of the tract that they're going to build a 20-foot, it's their property, a 20-foot maintenance road, so to speak, so they could scoop blow sand and maintain it. They were working with CVWD to be able to go have an easement and go up the slope of that and also
So is
do
that the
maintenance.
Ventura Road extension that's mentioned? Or are you
Yeah,
saying
and it's not
are you saying even
Ventura,
west
it's
of that?
Rio,
Right. Well, I'm just calling it the extension. And I
Yeah.
think in the map it does still say Ventura.
it's behind it.
It's actually not the road, it's behind the road.
It's behind the houses that front that road.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
very west part of the track that's going to abut CVWD property.
All right.
Then, on the north side, there's a patent road, a US patent road. They gave these to make sure owners weren't landlocked. There's a 30-foot strip that we will take action. I don't know if it has to come to council or not, that we'll accept this patent road for city purposes, but we're going to grant them an easement. We work this out in the conditions of approval where they're going to have an easement to build a 20-foot maintenance road, and they will maintain it and use it for their maintenance purposes for blow sand until that road's improved by the property owners, basically north of them. Internally in the tract, once we accept the streets for city purposes, and bring them into the city system, the agreement we have with the development through basically the purchase and performance agreements is we're going to maintain the streets curb to curb. They maintain beyond that, and that's for both for maintenance and long-term reconstruction and everything. But over the years, and it reflects in the purchase and performance agreement, the HOA does a real good job about maintaining blow sand. So we're reaffirming that in the specific plan amendments and the conditions of approval that we're going to do when we accept it in the system. We're going to do street sweeping once a month, like every other city street does, but anything extraordinary, they're going to be on top of. So trash and blow sand in the streets, they'll be maintaining that.
All right, well, I know I am happy, of course, to see that blow sand is being considered and that things are being put in place, especially in this area of the city when we know we have the issue in the existing Rio Vista to the south there. So is there you're saying they're going to build some kind of structure. Would that include trees or anything? I know they're dirty, but the tamarisk trees that are farther to the south, could that necessarily be part of what they're going to construct over there?
No, and I'll say no because you can't put tamarisk trees back. It's an invasive species.
But maybe some other type?
The tamarisk trees that we maintain to the south will remain. The tamarisk trees to the north, in the conversation they had with CVWD, they're looking at removing all the tamarisk trees, and they can tell me if I'm wrong in that, and they're going to replace them with a better species and something that's more natural to the desert that can help mitigate that blow sand situation as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Lamb.
I had a question. It was mentioned several times. It says the open space landscape lot will remain privately and maintained by HOA. Is that, could that also be the collection basin? Are there collection basins? There's nobody up there. Anyway, I'm just, whoever.
I'm going to help Sandra out here.
So I didn't, and maybe I missed it in the reading.
This area here, this green space or here where this
Yes.
signified as green, those are long linear retention basins that
Okay.
are actually landscaped and really lend to the fabric of the neighborhood. So if you've been there before, you see that big wide
Right.
open space area. It is, those are retention basins.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. You got to quit sitting down. Somebody's got to quit sitting down. So I just have one question. It's just I didn't quite wrap my brain around it. Will they be taking responsibility of the entire Patent Road or just the part that will be their access space? You said there was the whole Patent Road, but they were just going to put a 20-foot.
Oh, yeah, there's a 30-foot Patent Road, if you can see in the cursor on the screen, that extends from here to here. We know that exists.
Wait, I don't see it. Wait.
Right here.
Where are we?
See all that fun stuff up
I
there?
don't see anything, John. Look at that whole new thing. Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. There's a Patton Road there. Remember, the blow sand prevails going basically in line with the freeway, so it's going to be in this direction. There's a 30-foot Patton Road right back here that it basically encroaches in the properties to the north. For some reason, it didn't exist on the southerly property line, and mainly because there's probably access from the south before. They're going to improve 20 feet of that for an access road.
But they'll still maintain the rest of it?
It's going to be raw land, except for the 20 feet they're going to put.
Oh, I see. I thought it was all inside.
No, this is outside behind the
Oh,
residences.
okay, I see the cursor and it looked inside. All right, I've got you.
This is their property line.
Yep,
So it'd be outside. It's behind their wall. Just as this 20-foot road that they have, they own the property. It's not in the track map. They're going to basically utilize that. And we have a condition that would be, and we actually have the plans for that, 20-foot maintenance road as well. And it's all about blow sand.
yeah. Right, I just want to make sure somehow
So
we didn't
the
end up taking
developer
care
has
of it.
been very aware of that from day one.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Okay. At this time, I will close no, I'm going to open it. Hang on. At this time, I will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone to speak?
Mayor, we actually do have quite a few request to speak forms. However, it's my understanding it is all part of the applicant's team. So I do want to confirm that with the public, and then we'll move forward. So I did receive quite a few requests to speak forms, but are there any other members of the public beside Mr. Gutman that are going to be speaking on this that are not part of the applicant's team? Okay, so would you like me to call each individual up, or do you want to invite the applicant up and let's invite the applicant up, the main applicant, thank you. And if each individual will please just state your name for the record.
She's not sure if she needs it just yet. She's not sure if she needs it just yet.
You let me know, okay? We're just going to minimize it. Okay.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Connie Dobreva, and I'm here representing the applicant team for NCP Verano. We do have quite a few speaker cards, but they're only if we need them. We don't need to give you testimony unless you have any questions. We have a presentation, but it doesn't sound like it's necessary for me to give it to you. We're just here to field questions. But before we get started, I would just really like to take a moment and acknowledge what Sandra said, that this has been really a team effort to get this project to you tonight. We're so excited to be here, and I really want to acknowledge the hard work on behalf of the city and the city's consultants. It really took a lot of effort in the last few weeks. And throughout this entire process, this particular owner applicant who's here took possession of the land in 2022. And in the first year, a lot of the work was really working with CVWD to do some of those reservoir improvements, those well improvements to make sure that the water pressure is, to identify the needs of the community, like the blow sand mitigation, to figure that out, to figure out that there's an access issue and to figure out how to fix that. And about a year ago, about this time, they held a meeting with the community that was organized through the HOA. There was 75 to 80 people that attended. So the project was received, the input was put in on what was wanted, what was needed, particularly with the finishing off the recreation amenity. I mean, if you go out there and look at it, there's a big hole where there should have been a pool, but there never was. So the applicants worked very closely with the city, with CVWD, with the community to figure out what the needs are, and we're very pleased with the amendments that are before you tonight. We think this project will be beautiful, and will really finish off the community. So with that, we have our civil engineering team here. We have our planner who prepared the specific plan amendment, if there's any questions. We have our landscape team here. We have our legal team here. I helped write the environmental piece. So we're here to answer any questions that you have and just really thank you for your time.
Sure. Council, does anyone have any questions?
Just before you sit down, tell us about the environmental piece. What are the standouts there?
Oh, for the environmental piece, I think the standouts were that this particular specific plan and the environmental work that was previously done really comprehensively looked at what the environmental impacts were going to be of the project and had a lot of mitigation measures. And so our process was to take a look at those, make sure that the project was the same as what was previously envisioned, and it's the exact same number of units, very similar densities, everything's about the same, just slightly improved so that it's more marketable and palatable for what people really want today. Then we looked at, we ran some modeling, some air quality, some noise, some vibration. We wanted to just cross-check and make sure that at a due diligence level, while we may not have very specific homes located, we wanted to make sure that everything still was environmentally the same as what was previously analyzed and that we don't have any new significant impacts. We also had a biologist go out and take a look at what's on the ground, and they looked at even the CVWD improvements because we do have some of those off-site improvements. So we went through the entire CEQA checklist, compared it against what was already done, and found that there were no new significant impacts. And that was peer-reviewed by the city's environmental consultant, and we worked very closely with her to make sure that we addressed any concerns and comments, kind of honed in and made those mitigation measures be really a little more relevant for today, and found that within the four corners of the law that the environmental impacts were the same. There was nothing new. It was exactly the type of project that was envisioned and originally approved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that detail.
So I see you do have a presentation up there with some photographs and things. I don't know if you want to run through
Sure,
and
I think the
highlight
photos-
some of the areas, and if you do have anything about these parks or open areas, that would be useful too.
I'd be happy to do that. So this is the entire area. Was currently built out, and as I said, this was originally approved in 1997, 1998, and development began in 1999, but then this whole area went under just economic hardships and ultimately went under bankruptcy, and only about 528 units were built or approved, and then the remainder have remained unapproved and unbuilt. I shouldn't say unapproved, unbuilt. Here is a photograph of the reservoir that was constructed and then what it looks like now. It's behind a berm, behind the freeway. You'll never see it, but it's a 2.5 million gallon reservoir and pipeline that the applicant worked really closely. These were commitments that needed to be done before the rest of the project could be built that were left unfinished for so many years, and the developer came in and worked with CVWD to make sure that that happened. This includes a new booster pump for well 1. There's water pressure issues in the area, so all these improvements are there to correct that. Here is some of the blow sand that currently exists. You can see that fencing doesn't really do much. So what was identified is CVWD is doing some work. We coordinated with them to make sure that there's a wall to protect the community, an area that is serviceable, and then creating that access road to the north to make sure that there's full access so that the area can be serviced. And as your Public Works Director mentioned, there is a requirement that the HOA take care of anything as it comes up. So in addition to regular maintenance, when there are storms, they have to go out there and clear it. And all that clearing will be done in conjunction with CVWD, obviously to protect the preserve that's next door. Here is, you can see the picture to the left is that the holes for the swimming pools, and this is just a rendering of what this particular amenity will look like. It will include finishing off the pool, bocce ball courts, new sports court, new landscaping, and this piece will be gated. It is a private amenity for the community. For the rest of the parks, there's some pocket parks. Any of the pocket parks that are deeded to the city will remain open. They will not be fenced. They will have full access. They will have shade structures. They will have trees. We heard the Planning Commission loud and clear. More trees, more shade, more benches, make it usable. And so I know that that map is confusing, so we do have a note to make sure we clean that up in these specific plans, so we know exactly what's being dedicated to the city and what's being privately held. So anytime anything is gated, it's usually not dedicated to the city, and anytime it is, the HOA will maintain it, and then the entire community will have access to it. I won't go into this other than saying that the total unit count will be 1,362 units. It's exactly what was previously envisioned. It's in line with what's in your zoning code and your general plan, as perfected by the amended specific plan. The reason that we're here today, so this is sort of the why. The applicant saw an opportunity to bring this unfinished project back to life and to fit a range of households for the community, including improving the open spaces that were unfinished, dedicated and unfinished, as well as the main recreational facility. We changed some of the lotting, got rid of some of the alley loaded. I think that created more private open space for folks, but got rid of some extra concrete that creates extra heat effect, extra maintenance, extra drainage. So, and again, fits what we think the market wants. So we're finishing it off, but we think that this is just both environmentally and more marketable. And then the multifamily also is going to have a choice of housing. There's going to be some detached, and they're going to be for sale products, some condominiums, which will allow different affordability levels for the community. There are no income restricted units, but again, because of the variety of sizes of homes and multifamily, we think it really will be allow some first-time home buyers to actually come in and buy homes. We talked about some of the circulation improvements. We talked about the recreation improvements, parks and open space improvements. We improved the landscape palette, removed some of the trees that really didn't need to be there, and made sure they are climate appropriate and drought tolerant. And I know a question came up about the getting rid of the alleys and what's that going to do? Are we going to have cars now parking in the front? And the way that this is designed, they called it architecture forward design, meaning that the garages are at least 20 feet back. So the front of the garage is 20 feet back from the street, where the living space is 10 feet. So the first thing you see is the door, the front window to the front room, as opposed to the opposite of what old. So, and that's built into the specific plan. That's a requirement. And then with that, here's just a summary of the environmental documents. There was an MND. We looked at the MND. We also looked at your general plan, EIR, and its mitigation measure, and made sure that we applied them to the project, right? We don't want this beautiful general plan and EIR to sit there unused. So we applied the mitigation measures to this project and made sure that there were no environmental impacts, and there were none, or nothing significant that can't be mitigated. So with that, that's all there is.
Good. Any other questions?
Just a comment for the mayor. The existing part of Orano, most of it's in District 5, which is my district, but all of this new development will be in District 3. So guess whose district will be growing until the next census. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to ask the general member of the public to come up and speak now.
Please.
Scott Gutman.
Well, this will be quick since you guys answered a couple of my questions. It was about the parks. I was just going to reiterate that Circle Park and the clubhouse with the pool and the fitness center are fob accessed, and they're an amenity by the HOA, and I'm now confident that it remains that way. And I just want to add one more thing about the trees and vegetation. This month, what a month, we lost a whole bunch of the honey mesquite. So I'm just hoping that the landscaping, and I see mesquite listed on there, it's not just drought, we have a huge wind issue. We know that going into it. So the trees need to be able to withstand the huge amount of wind that we get. Some do fine, so that's all, quick.
Thank you, Scott.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to comment on this item? And I see none, Mayor.
Okay. At this time, I will close public hearing. Do you have a motion to approve staff's recommendation and a second?
I would move to approve, including the amended language that was given to us by memo today.
And I will second.
Councilmember Gutierrez, there you go. Okay, please vote. We have a motion by Councilmember Gregory and a second by Mayor Carnevale. Motion carries, all ayes.
Thank you, very exciting. Do we want to take a break, or you want us to keep on going?
You need to let her read the ordinance. I
Oh, I'm
think.
sorry.
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cathedral City making CEQA consistency/exemption findings, adopting an amendment to the Rio Vista Village Specific Plan Amendment 97-55D, and approving a density transfer between planning areas.
Thank you very much. At this point, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. All right. All right. Legislative actions, Autism Society, Inland Empire Autism Walk and Festival, SUP. May we have a staff report, please, Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Ryan Hunt will present this item. This is a group that has used the amphitheater for their event before and are asking to come back again.
Thank you, City Manager. Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. It's good to be with you. I want to thank Juanita Hernandez from the Autism Society for being here. She'll be available for any questions that you have throughout the program. I think you know this event pretty well. We had it last fall in the amphitheater, and they brought back another event to our amphitheater recently, the Color the Spectrum Art Festival. So this is really great programming to be able to raise awareness for autism and all the education and support we can provide to that community. So October 26th is the proposed date in the amphitheater, 10 to 1, so that's the same time. The 400 to 600 projected attendees, I think they easily met that last year, so and did really well at the Color of the Spectrum Art Festival as well. Really good turnout throughout the day, and I think they do a great job running events. So this event will include fun for the entire family, and inflatable attractions, kind of a kid zone, vendor booths for autism awareness and resources for families. And the Autism Society serves families in both Riverside and San Bernardino counties, so they're very busy and do quite a bit. That's 17,500 children and adults combined in both regions who need this type of support and education. And so the Autism Society Inland Empire's mission is to create these type of connections through events, empowering everybody to do what they can to support this community. So for the 2024 event, the Autism Society of Inland Empire is requesting a city sponsorship of $2,500 for the Fall Autism Acceptance Walk. They have already paid the $510 special use permit that has been processed through my department and planning. And so the event organizers would offer the following sponsor benefits to the city, and Juanita can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this or if there's anything she wanted to add, but verbal recognition of the event, logo on the back of volunteer t-shirts, branded yard sign on the walk path, one volunteer t-shirt, a resource booth at the event, thanked on social media. They have quite a good following on there. Their newsletter, about 27,000 users in its reach, and 6 walk event entries. So the event will feature an awareness walk, autism marketplace. If you were there last year, it's a very similar components there, but this is just really one that pulls on the heartstrings for sure, and is a cause that is deeply personal to me too, being a brother of a special education teacher and a brother-in-law of a special education teacher, both. So 100% of the funds raised through this event do go directly back to the organization to help provide critical resources and programs to support the local autism community. And there's the layout, which is very similar to what was provided last year. And then it is staff's recommendation to approve the special use permit and allow the Autism Society Inland Empire's Autism Acceptance Walk and Festival to utilize the community amphitheater on October 26, 2024. As staff, I've really moved away from a little bit of the recommendation portion of whether you all decide to sponsor. I think that's your decision as a council. I will just say that for the 2 events and now 3rd with this one working in the process, that the Autism Society of Inland Empire has been one of the best stewards of our amphitheater. There hasn't been a spot of trash left after the event. They've been really a great caretaker of our venue and really bringing a lot more of these resources to Cathedral City to promote autism awareness. So I'll just add that and leave that to you all for your decision. So, and with that, we'll answer any questions that you have.
Raymond.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Councilman.
Now, will this interfere with the Battle of the Badges? Is that because that's around the
It will
same
not.
time?
The Battle on the Bat, pending your approval, is slated. They have asked for October 19th, so it would be the weekend before.
Okay. Now, of course, so this will not also interfere with the reseating of the amphitheater?
It would not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So while you're on the interference theme, so this is the weekend before Halloween, and we normally have a number of events. I say a number because it's grown to 2, I think, events in the city. So can you talk about the tentative scheduling for those and any issues?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, council member. The really great part, and I should have added this to my kind of anecdote about working with this group, is it is the bare minimum of what is requested from communications events, which is turning on the audio, making sure everything works, unlocking the gate in the morning, and then really being on call for any issues that arise. And so far, it's really been pretty easy with them. They haven't had many. I will say, fortunately, because of you all as a council, adding to the communications and events department, we will have an events and recreation coordinator starting on May 14th. So yeah, fingers crossed. We will be able to divide and conquer, I think, pretty well. We have a Halloween, Howloween, dog costume contest that Saturday, and Sunday for Spooktacular. So I'll probably would take those on and then have this events recreation coordinator on call for anything that the Autism Society would need. So I think we can cover it from a staff standpoint.
Okay, so my other question has to do with any cost of admission or what the benefit to the, we're being asked for a sponsorship, so and you've already outlined some of the benefit to our local community, and of course, it is a nonprofit, but for the event itself, is there an admission fee?
Juanita, do you want to kind of come in and take this one, kind of give an outline?
Good evening, thank you so much. Yes, so this is our annual fundraiser. Outside of grant writing and individual donations, this is our only big fundraiser that we have throughout the year. So there is an admission fee, or there is a fee. It's $20. And then all individuals with autism or any other intellectual developmental disability are free to enter.
So just to get into the amphitheater, it costs $20, or is that only if they participate in the walk, or is it?
Yeah, so it's $20. It's a $20. It's a donation, $20 donation to take part in the walk, and so they would be able to access, to enter the amphitheater and be able to access all of the amenities and things that we're having. So we have entertainment, we have the fun zone, we have the resources. We generally get anywhere from 30 to 35 resources, community resource for families, and then they take part in the walk itself as well. And but the other thing is we don't really generally ever turning anybody away. So everybody is always welcome. It's open to the community as well to come and celebrate autism acceptance with us. But we don't generally turn people away if they can't pay. They're more than welcome to come and join in the fun.
So if we were to sponsor this, and particularly somebody from Cathedral City wanted to go and they couldn't pay the $20, you would allow them to enter?
Oh, absolutely. And part of the benefits that we're offering is 6 free entries. So if all of you wanted to go, yes, we could.
Well, I'm thinking more of the, see, we're trying to, with all of these sponsorship requests, is to weigh, because it's not free money.
Yeah.
I mean, it is money that the city does end up paying because the fee is set on, some type of an expectation of the cost of wear and tear and those types of things.
Yes, I understand.
So we like to make sure that we are getting a fair benefit back to the community. So that's why I'm asking this line of questioning. I'm not trying to give you a hard time or anything.
No.
I would certainly support it, but I want to try to highlight the availability of the event to the community if someone really wanted to go and couldn't afford to pay.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We'd be happy to work something out with you, and we've done that in the past as well. Generally as well, we usually offer, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Inland Regional Center, but they're basically like social services for individuals with disabilities. It's a lifelong service, and generally a lot of our families are a part of that service, and we usually set aside like 50 to 100 free entries for them, for their families who can't afford that. So we could certainly do that for the city as well. If you guys wanted to set a certain cap or number of entries for families or that you might know that might not be able to have the funds, then we'd be happy to do something like that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else? Yes.
Most important question. Do you serve food there?
We do.
So what does that look like?
So, well, we invite food trucks. So, yes, and we have been actually We do try to keep it, we have a food truck that we just found actually last year that has a child with autism, and they just recently got diagnosed, and it was their first walk last year, and it was beautiful. They all came, they had team t-shirts, and the father came to me afterwards and just poured his heart out to me, and it was just so amazing to see their family come together and support, and that was like one of my favorite takeaways from that day. It was really awesome.
And I'm imagining there's a lot of vendors out there, Crumble Cookie and Nothing Bundt Cakes and places like that would also donate large amounts of sugar.
Yeah.
Because when it comes right down to it, that's the most important.
Right.
The sugar.
Yeah, that's
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Any other public comments? Or?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor, it appears we only have staff in the council chambers.
Oh, cool. Alrighty. Council, any more questions? We good to go? All right. Do we have a motion to approve staff's recommendation and a second?
Okay.
I'll move to approve and include a $2,500 sponsorship in recognition for the value that the event has to the community.
Okay. Councilmember Gregory, Councilmember Gutierrez, please vote. We have a motion by Councilmember Gregory and a second by Councilmember Gutierrez. Motion carries all ayes.
Thank you. Great news. Award subrecipient agreement to Fair Housing Council of Riverside County. Mr. City Manager, we have a staff report, please.
Yes, when you approved the CDBG Annual Action Plan a few moments earlier today, included in the administrative set-aside is funding for an activity required by HUD of recipient cities, and that is the fair housing element. And so we're awarding the contract for that, and Andrew Lee will go over that with you.
All right, thank you again, Mr. City Manager, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. I'll be presenting the award of a subrecipient agreement to Fair Housing Council of Riverside County. Let's start with some background. In June of 2022, the City Council approved the 5-year consolidated plan that outlines the community needs for the city, and also the first year annual action plan for Cathedral City's Community Development Block Grant. In March of this year, city staff introduced the CDBG Annual Action Plan to the City Council, and it included funds for administration and public infrastructure. That Annual Action Plan was presented again tonight and was approved by the City Council. So the CDBG administration includes funding for fair housing component for low to moderate income individuals. This fair housing component includes landlord-tenant disputes, it includes anti-discrimination services, and also education on fair housing rights and responsibilities. So there was an informal proposal solicitation for the fair housing component, and the following fair housing service providers were contacted to submit proposals. The Coachella Valley Housing Coalition, which they did not submit, the Fair Housing Council of Riverside County, and Inland Fair Housing and Mediation Board. And the Fair Housing Council of Riverside County was the highest ranked proposal. The Fair Housing Council of Riverside County will provide comprehensive fair housing services to Cathedral City residents through education, training and technical assistance, and enforcement. The $20,000 that is allocated to CDBG Fair Housing Services, that will start on July 1st and is shown on this slide. This item aligns with the 5-year strategic plan through Goal F, Embracing Inclusive City. And city staff is requesting that the City Council award a subrecipient agreement to Fair Housing Council of Riverside County in the amount of $20,000 to provide fair housing services for Cathedral City's CDBG program, authorize the city manager to execute the required contract documents, and authorize the city engineer to request insurance policies. And that concludes my presentation. I'll hand it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Gregory.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and thank you to your department for putting this out for bid. I think it's important for that, and I was happy to see that it looks like there's supposed to be some proactive activities in here, and you just mentioned education, but could you go over a little bit more what the agreement requires as far as that educational or proactive activities, not just taking complaints and working with people, but also some education?
Yes. So their proposal mentioned, if I can pull it up. All right. So the three services that the Fair Housing Council of Riverside County are targeting, as mentioned in the presentation, is education, training and technical assistance, and enforcement. And so fair housing is, instead of just handling landlord-tenant disputes as they come in through complaints, they're doing outreach to the community to educate on fair housing rights and responsibilities.
All right, and it looks like in the scope of services that they are actually going to be putting on some workshops and presentations. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I think it says at least 2 during the term. Is this a 1-year term?
1-year term.
Okay. And presentations also to management, at least 1 during the term. Is that correct?
Yes,
All
I believe
right.
so. Just double check.
Thank you. Well, to me, that is an improvement instead of having a more reactive service, which it sounds like they'll take care of that portion also, that they're actually going to be doing some outreach. Because I know, from time to, these things fortunately don't come up all the time, but from time to time they do come up, or sometimes they come up in groups, as we've had with maybe some of our mobile home parks, those type of things. And so I think it would be beneficial to our community to have some education going on every year, and some hopefully materials and resources that we could put in people's hands when they do have these issues. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, very much. Okay, do we have a motion to approve staff's recommendation? And a second?
What did you say? Public comments. We don't
There's
have
no
anybody in the public.
Nancy, please.
Oh, I was talking to you.
Mayor, there are no members of the public present in the chambers.
Got it.
Do we have a motion? Okay. Please vote.
Got it?
We have a motion by Councilmember Gregory and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Motion carries, all ayes.
Item C, annual renewal of the lighting and landscape district budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Mr. City Manager, you have staff report.
Thank you. Kevin was called away unexpectedly this afternoon, so Ann Ambrose is going to present this item. It is a routine item, the annual landscaping and lighting budget. I probably shouldn't minimize it by calling it routine. It's important. It allows our LLDs to maintain the common areas and provide the street lighting that they do. The good news is everything falls within the allowed increases in the budget. We had one area that was upside down. It's getting better each year, and that was due to some unusual one-time costs a couple of years ago. So that one will right size soon. So I'll let Ann go over the actual budget with you. And it also, I should point out, and I'm sure she'll say this, but it continues the 100% payment from the general fund for maintenance of the Century and Panorama Parks.
He took all the good parts.
What he said.
What he said.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. So a little bit of background. So Council Resolution 2001-57 was the initial formation of the LLMD, which included 4 benefit zones, which is now 16 benefit zones. The annual assessment is levied pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972. The engineer's annual levy report describes the district with maps and provides the proposed budgets and assessments, and that is part of your staff report. And the assessments are based on the city's estimated cost to maintain and provide a special benefit to the properties assessed within each district. And the annual levy is budgeted and assessed for each separate zone, including expenditures, deficits, surpluses, revenues, and reserves. The services and costs funded through the district include maintenance and operations, whether provided by our staff or third-party maintenance, public works maintenance labor, and then water for irrigation. Additionally, it funds arterial and interior streetlights. As the city manager had mentioned earlier about the 100% general fund contribution for park maintenance costs, there's also a split of 50-50 for arterial streetlights that are paid by the district as well as by the general fund. Covers electrical, energy, and other costs for performing the annual assessment, the engineering report, and the levying of the assessments. So it's a multiple stepped process. Step one is the process of beginning where we're at tonight, which is initiating the proceedings resolution and the resolution of intention to levy. This must be published at least 10 days prior to step two, which will happen on June 16th, which is the public hearing. Tonight also will be the resolution to adopt the preliminary engineer's report. Staff will come back to you on June 26th for the public hearing and order of the levy and the collection of the assessments, and approve the final engineer's report and resolution. So this is the proposed budget. So the anticipated maintenance costs for 24-25 and the costs of the assessment engineering at administration and collection is $714,713. Less the 50% general fund contribution for the arterial streetlights and the 100% contribution for park maintenance costs, which leaves a total budget of $348,529. And then there's an addition needed for the reserve fund contribution to make the minimum required reserves. This also comes out of the district funds. That'll be $6,466, leaving a total balance to levy of $354,995. Excuse me. As the city manager mentioned, of the 16 LLDs, there's only one zone with a negative balance, and that is Zone 20, Cimarron, which has a negative balance of $4,015 at the end of fiscal year, or projected at the end of fiscal year 2025, which is down from $6,147 at the beginning of the fiscal year. And staff, as was mentioned, there was an extraordinary expense that had to be done at one point for some concrete work, but staff is working to work within their means to get back on track with that district. The fiscal year 24-25 budget for the LLD Fund 261 identified budget revenues of $695,000 and budget expenditures of $679,137. With the attached engineer's preliminary report, it has identified projected revenues of a totaling $721,180 and associated expenditures of $714,714, which results in the proposed budget amendments that are before you. And so this is just a little clearer view of that. So the adopted budget, we have a higher anticipated revenues and cost, and the final column are the budget adjustments that staff is recommending approval tonight for the both revenues and expenditure side. So staff's recommendation for this evening is to approve the proposed budget adjustments, to adopt the three resolutions before you, the initiate proceedings resolution, the intention to levy resolution, and the preliminary engineer's report resolution, and then proceed to the final budget approval and public hearing on June 26th at the regularly scheduled city council meeting. This action aligns with the City Council goal of fiscal stability and sustainability. And that is the end. So I'm available if you have any questions.
I don't see, we have Raymond Gregory just popped up.
So thank you so much for the presentation, and I, of course, look with interest whenever this comes up to make sure that the policy that this council has taken is always included, that the residents of 2 of the LLDs are not paying for parks that are open to the public and available to the public, and where the other parks in the city aren't included. So thank you again to this council for setting that policy and for continuing that policy, and for staff for recognizing that. And then part 2 of this that I think can sometimes get lost is that, to me, this shows a lot of constraint and hard work in keeping these costs to a minimum. So I want to thank Deanna Pressgrove and John Corella and the Public Works Department for all of their work in keeping this down. Sometimes the public accuses us of grabbing every dollar that we can and spending it unnecessarily, and I think this really demonstrates that although these areas are kept nice like they're supposed to be, and that's why we have lighting and landscaping districts, that there is a lot of constraint, because if you look through the chart, there are many, many of the districts where there is a potential that it could have gone up to, but there's no need to do that. And that's because staff has been exercising great constraint in making sure we get good value out of the services. So I want to thank Deanna and John and their whole department for that. So, thank you.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Thank you, Councilmember Gregory. Not seeing any members of the public in here. We're going to just bypass that. And do we have a motion and a second?
So I would make the motion. I just want to make sure that we include, because the recommendation in the staff report doesn't really say, but it also includes the budget adjustments as outlined.
Yes, please.
So we're waiting on a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilmember Gregory, Councilmember Lamb, please vote. We have a motion by Councilmember Gregory, a second by Councilmember Lamb. Motion carries, all ayes.
Wonderful. And this is a really important item right here, the cooling center. Mr. City Manager, do we have a staff report?
Thank you. Luis Perez from our Public Works Department, you all may not have met him before, is here to present this item. We have worked with both the library and with the Riverside County Community Action Program to come up with a means to have the cooling center available during library hours, and Luis will go over that with you.
Thank you, City Manager. City Manager failed to mention, this is the best presentation, by the way. We saved it for last, okay? Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. My name is Luis Perez. I'm an environmental and public works analyst, and today I'll be presenting to you the cooling center at the Cathedral City Library. So some background on the cooling center. Cooling centers usually serve as drop-in sites for vulnerable individuals, seniors, persons with disabilities, and others in temporary need of relief from the heat. The Riverside County Community Action Partnership, whom we'll refer to as CAP throughout this presentation, coordinates with other county and local agencies to activate these centers. They use activate as opening, that's just the term they use. Cooling centers are typically at libraries, senior centers, community centers, and other nonprofit businesses or faith-based organizations. And CAP monitors temperatures throughout Riverside County daily, so that when temperatures are expected to reach 100 degrees or higher, which is almost every day during the summer here, an official heat warning is issued by CAP and the Riverside University System of Public Health. In the event a heat warning is issued, all cooling centers must officially activate until the temperature subsides or until the operating hours of the library are over. Cathedral City has not had a cooling center within the past several years. I believe it was sometime prior to COVID-19. I'm not sure the exact date, but the library did mention it was sometime prior. At Councilmember Gregory's request and the City Council's concurrence, staff was asked to work with Riverside County to help develop a cooling center at the Cathedral City Library. Now a little discussion. The City of Cathedral City is working jointly with CAP and the Riverside County Library System, Cathedral City Library, to establish a cooling center at the Cathedral City Library. CAP is in the final stages of their evaluation and the coordination process with the Cathedral City Library, and currently we're on track to open starting June 1st, which goes on until October 15th, which is when the summer months usually end. So here's some relevant operating information. So the hours of operation are aligned with the hours of the library. So the library is open Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're open on Wednesdays from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. They're open on Sunday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., and then they're closed on Fridays. Supplies will be provided by CAP. They'll supply water, snacks, fans if you need to cool off inside. So if anybody wanted to go in, they could go in, stop by, and get a little snack, cool off for however long they need. And they'll also supply like educational material on how to keep warm or cold. In this sense, it'd be cold. Supervision, the Cathedral City Library staff will be in charge of supervision during, making sure the cooling center is operated as intended during their operating hours. Fiscal impact, there is no fiscal impact for this item. There is no direct cost for the city to operate this cooling center. Our 5-year strategic plan, it covers goal F, embracing inclusive community, with that objective listed there. And this accomplishes action F11, which is to establish a cooling center by June 2024. Now for our recommendation to review the establishment of a cooling center at the Cathedral City Library in partnership with both the Riverside County Community Action Partnership, CAP, and Riverside County Library System, Cathedral City Library. And that's the end. Back
Thank
to
you very much. Councilmember Gregory.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and welcome to being in front of the City Council.
Thank you, it's my first time.
All right, so as you noted, the proposal is that this cooling center would follow normal library hours, and which means it will be closed on Friday. So we undoubtedly will have days over 100 on Friday, since the weather doesn't seem to care what our schedule is. So is there something that we can do to make sure that people are at least informed of alternatives on Friday?
Yes, that's a great question. So CAP actually has several cooling centers on their website. There's a few in Palm Springs, there's one in Thousand Palms, there's several all over the valley. But on the actual website, they do have all the locations listed, so they would just be directed to those locations.
I think we could also make sure that there's printouts of where those locations are at the library, so that if a participant came and needed to come on a day that the library hours weren't open, that they knew what the alternates were in the local
That would be good. I mean, we'd have to post it if nobody's there, but at least we shared it with the normal participants, and then maybe as we advertise it, as I'm sure we will in social media, Ryan, and we make sure that we include the link as to where people can go for alternative sites should for some reason ours be closed, or on Fridays when it's closed, something like that. All right, thanks so much.
The Riverside County produces a whole book countywide of where all of the cooling centers are at, who they serve. Some are open to the whole public, like ours is. Others might be at a senior center and only serve the seniors of that community. But it also has the hours and locations. So we'll make sure that that link to that resource is also available.
Okay. All right, and I guess I would just assume that we're going to be since we haven't had one in a few years, we're going to be checking in with the center itself, and if there are any issues, we're going to be working with them, and if we need to, with our first responders, those type of things, to address any assistance that's needed there.
Yes, definitely. Well, if they need any assistance, we'll be there to help.
All right.
And I'll be passing by there as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Mr.
Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you so much. You had a great chat with Kristen Lehigh, and I had a great chat with her as following up on this, just to kind of get the game plan. So, does CAP offer any other services while they're there, or is it just snacks only? That was the thing that
So it's just the cooling center only, but they do offer like educational material and stuff like that. But besides that, I'm not aware. It's just educational material on how to stay cold, how to stay in environments like that.
So there are no other resources that they would have.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And CAP actually won't be the ones staffing the cooling center.
No, it's the library. Yes, I know. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I'm sure when Coachella Valley Rescue Mission hears about this, they'll probably stop by, I would assume, and maybe Councilman Gregory can give them a call and tell them to stop by or something to that effect. But Great, this is really good news. You know, for years, we've been trying to do something, and finally, the Riverside has stepped up and it's going to do something. But I'm kind of confused on Fridays. They're just not staffed on Friday? Or?
Yeah, so the library is just closed on Fridays. I'm not sure what the reason is, but they're just not open on Fridays.
So they couldn't just keep the cooling side open, huh?
So that would be something we would have to talk to between the city and the county.
It might
right?
be complicated.
Yeah, that's a different story. It's totally different.
Sure.
Yeah, so I would have to get more information on that.
Okay.
Mayor, I did say to our city manager and our assistant city manager yesterday that I will reach out to Manny Perez and see if there's just some funds for that extra day. And there's no promise, of course, but I'm good at begging.
He's always willing.
I'm
You're
good
good
at
at begging. And he's good at giving too, so
Good.
that's a good call to do.
But
okay.
Additionally, there's also a little caveat with that because during the summer months, the library does have events in the community center. So if the community center is in use during the weekend, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to use it on Friday. That's just according to the library.
What do you mean if they had it on the weekends? Because it's open on the weekends for a cooling
So they
center.
have community events in the community center. So the cooling center would only be able to be in the community center during the off day, not in the library itself. So just that little area.
And they would have Friday events, is what you're saying?
They would have, so if we're holding the cooling center on a Friday, the event will be on a Saturday, but the items are already in the community center, so they wouldn't be able to be in there while all this, whatever they're going to do for the next day is already in there.
Councilmember, I think I can clarify. So I think the question is that if the library was closed on Friday and if there was somebody else that could operate the cooling center on the Friday when the library is normally closed, that the only room that would be available for that activity would be the community room because it can be segregated from the library.
I understand what you're saying.
And so if the library had an event scheduled, say on a Friday, like a community group that was using it, that the facility itself would not be available for a cooling center in that case.
Are we able to can we foresee that? Can we say that over these 3 months, are there going to be any events? They're not surprised.
We would have to consult with the library to see if there's any scheduled events for those particular days.
My understanding is the library usually won't schedule events on Friday because they're closed and there's no one there to even let them in.
It's actually not for Friday, but it's for the next day, the following day. So they usually have it's set up already, and the librarian was just saying that she wouldn't want people already there.
Well, I bet that could get worked out, though.
Right.
If there's going to be staff there,
Right.
somebody supervising it, and they need to set chairs up a certain way before they leave, I bet that could be worked out. So I understand your concern, but I don't think that's
100%.
enough to stop it.
And nobody's monsters. They all want people to stay cool. It's good.
Okay. Any other council members? Nothing? All right, seeing no public comments, we'll move this, we'll ask for a motion and a second. Oh, wait, we don't have to vote on this.
Actually, I don't
this
think
is
there's
for-
any action that requires your vote. This was the action item was just to review it, and I think you've done that.
Freebie, interesting. Okay, any issues or any items want to be brought up in the future to discuss?
I do have an item that I wanted to bring up to City Council. SB 9, which is the ADUs and JADUs, was that law, state law, was recently declared unconstitutional. So statewide, it is not constitutional. And before we get into our city already adopted an ordinance that allows the subdivision of parcels from just one single parcel up to 4 parcels or 4 properties in a single parcel. But this has been declared unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal court. Now, so we don't get into any future trouble, I believe that if we can possibly talk about it and put it in a pause until this gets resolved in the state level.
Okay, Councilmember, before I ask council their opinion, I'd like to hear from the city attorney if he's familiar with this and is this what he says is legit?
There was a case that held that SB 9 was invalid with regard
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, there is a case that was held that SB 9 is invalid as to charter cities if certain conditions apply.
And we're a charter city.
You're a charter city. problem with the case is that the court went ahead to say, but the legislature can go ahead and pass a law and impose it on you anyway. And so if they include the required findings. The required finding is that housing is a matter of statewide concern and they're at the matter of a housing crisis, which the state legislature has made several times. So while there is that law that's passed, I believe there's a move afoot to have the legislature pass a new law that will essentially circumvent the court's case. I have advised the community or the Director of Development Services that we should just pause right now since our ordinance is going into place, in fact. And if we back out from SB 9, it has certain implications on a housing element. So right now I want to see what happens with the case, see what the state legislature does. We can always repeal these things in the future, but right now I don't suggest that we take any immediate action. I can brief the council if you'd like me to prepare a brief for you more on how this actually would apply to the city in specifics and what the options are.
Councilmember
So
Gregory?
that would be like a written brief, and then you would just continue to monitor and bring it back to us
Correct.
at some point if
And
action is
after
warranted.
reading it, you decided that you wanted to bring it back for some type of action, we could certainly do that.
Councilmember Gregory, is that
Yeah, that's satisfactory then.
that work? So you're going to prepare a brief, pass it on to council and staff, and then we can research it and bring it back, monitor it, yeah, okay. Well, in that case,
And I have one. I got this request from Josie Diaz, and I'll read it to you. Cathedral City Lions girls softball made it to the CIF playoff for the first time in 20 years of school history. I'd like the opportunity to introduce the team and coaches to our city council. They worked really hard, and the team will be losing 7 senior players. I don't think we need more than 10 minutes, but we definitely need more than 3.
Charlie, you want to write that down and see what you can?
Yeah, I'm happy to schedule that.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure that's something you all wanted.
Tell her we said hello too. So, okay, well, the next regular city council meeting will be held May 22nd, 2024. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you,
I
everyone.
didn't think we'd be out by 8. That's great.
Very nice.